Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Yud Aleph, Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the top from the 2 dots. V'omar Rav bar Machasya, Omar Rav Chama bar Guya, Omar Rav. He continues telling us a series of statements in the name of Rav. Kol ir she gagoisel gevoihin mi beis hakneses lesoif charvo. Any city that has its rooftops of the houses that are higher than the Beis HaKnesses will be destroyed. Shenemar, as it states, L'roi meim es Beis Elokeinu, to elevate the house of Hashem, referring to the Beis HaKnesses, Ulahamid es Chorvoisov, and to stand up its ruins. The rest of the pasuk goes on to say, Veloses lonu geder b'Yehuda v'Yushalayim, which will provide for us a protective fence in Yehuda and Yerushalayim, and Michlal hein ata shomei alav, that if it's the opposite, if indeed there is a higher place than the Beis Hashem in the city, then it won't have the protective fence and it will be destroyed. Says the Gemara, V'hani mili bebatim. This is true when it comes to houses, the rooftops of houses. Aval bekishkushe v'iburue leslon ba. But in regards to those types of forts and those towers, which the roofs are not being used, then leslon ba, then it's not referring to that type of structure. Omar Rav Ashi ano avde lamata mechasyo. The lecharva. He says, Rav Ashi worked so that there would not be any buildings, any houses that were higher than the house of Hashem, than the Beis HaKnesses, in Mate Mechasyo. V'hacharva, asked the Gemara, behold, it was destroyed. The Gemara says, no, me'oiso avon lecharva, it was destroyed, but not from that avon of having the rooftops higher than the Beis HaKnesses. V'omar Rava bar Machasya Marav Chama bar Guya Omarav. He teaches us another statement. Tachas Yishmael v'lo tachas Nochri. Better to then work for Yishmael than to work for Nochri. Here refers to an Edomite, because the Adomim are more wicked than even the Yishmaelim. Tachas Nochri v'lo tachas Chabor. Better to work under the boss of a Nochri, of an Edomite, than not to work and be Mishamesh a Chabor. A Chabor are those who descended from those in the close proximity of Persia, and they are more wicked than even the Edomites. He goes on to say, Tachas Chabor v'loi tachas Talmid Chacham. And here it means to say, because the Talmid Chacham, you have to be very extremely careful in his kavod, and be very careful in how one behaves in terms of not slighting the Talmid Chacham, whereby a person is in great danger if he's working for a Talmid Chacham because of the situation of having to then be very, very careful in his behavior and his demeanor, in the way that he doesn't then override his bounds with the Talmid Chacham. Tachas Talmid Chacham v'lo tachas Yosem ve'almona. Here refers to the fact that the Yosem and the Almona are so sensitive, they cry very easily, and like the Torah says, if a person hurts the feelings of a Yosem and Almona, they'll scream out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take action, because they're botech in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They have nobody to rely on but HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whereby HaKadosh Baruch Hu then hears their outcry and then takes action immediately. Says the Gemara, V'amarava bar Machasya Marav Chama bar Guya Amarav. Kol choyli v'lo choyle me'ayim. Any illness, in a long type of illness, but not the illness of the b'nei me'ayim, of the intestines, which weakens a person. Kol ke'ev v'lo ke'ev leiv. No pain that comes and goes. All pain rather that comes and goes. Rather, all pain, but not the pain of heart pain. Kol michush v'lo michush roish. No aches, all aches rather, but not the aches of the head, which are aches referring to things that are temporary. Kol ra v'loi isha ra. All bad things, but not an isha ra, which calls a person to have such distress. Ein chayav chayim. His life is not chayim. He's in terrible pain and distress throughout his life, living with an isha ra. Says the Gemara, another statement, V'amarova bar machasya marav, Chama bar guya marav, Im yihu kol hayamim dioi. If all of the oceans were dio, were black ink, ve'agomim kulmusim, and the swamps were the quills, v'shomayim yiriois, and the heavens were the parchments, v'kol b'nei adam lavlarin, and every person, every human being would be a scribe. Ein maspiking lichtoiv chalola shel reshus. We wouldn't have the ability to even write the depths of the government. And therefore, since the government has so many details to deal with, it's not possible for them to have complete ability. And only HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately is the one who can have proper control and deal with all the factors within a civilization, within a country, between the taxations, between the milchamos, between the inner struggles and the judgments that have to be done. All of this is so many that it's not possible for a regular human type of government to have the ability to do, and therefore, no matter how much we would write about it, the depths of such governing would be beyond the ability to describe. Says the Gemara, my kro, what is the verse that supports this? That one cannot ultimately describe the details that have to go on to then be to govern a place in the most proper way, which is beyond the human being's ability. Omer Rav Mesharsha shomayim lerum va'aretz lo'oimek. The shomayim in its heights, and the land in its depths. V'leiv malachim ein cheker. And the hearts of the kings, they cannot be discerned. V'amarova bar machasya marav chama bar guria, another statement in the name of Rav. Yafatainis lechaloim ke'esh l'ne'ores. He says, greater is a tainis for a chalom. A person has a disturbing dream that he's so shooken up from. Better to nullify that chalom with a tainis, like a fire that consumes flax that are easily burnt. That's how powerful a chalom, a tainis, to nullify the chalom is. Of course, that tainis is done together with teshuvah. Amarav Yafet, Amarav Chizdo Uboy Bayoim. It has to be during that first day, the day after the chalom, that very day, in order to nullify it. Amarav Yosef Afilu b'Shabbos, and it's so important that it can even be done on Shabbos, which is a stira to Shabbos. Shabbos requires oineg, and therefore, if a person normally cannot fast on Shabbos, but over here, since he's so distressed, he'll have oineg through the fasting, although he'll have to make up the chet that he did not have oineg on Shabbos by then fasting another fast. But nonetheless, he's able to fast a tiny chalom on the Shabbos itself. Of course, if he only had that dream the night before. Rabbi Yoshua berei de Rav Idi ikloi lebei Rav Ashi avde le igla tilsa. He served a calf that was the third one born, which is considered to be healthy and strong, and considered to be a very big delicacy. Omrule lit oim mar midi. So Rav Ashi, he said, eat something. He told to his guest, Rabbi Yoshua berei de Rav Idi, Omar lohu betainis yasivna. I'm sitting in a tainis. I'm having a tainis now. I can't eat. Omrule v'loy savalei mar lohod Rav Yehuda. Did you not hold of that which Rav Yehuda said? The Omer Rav Yehuda, who teaches loive adam tainisoy upareya, that there's a concept that we learn. The halacha is that if a person, he already made a neder for making a certain amount of fasts, but he didn't specify them. And therefore, when the fast comes and he's not able to then complete the fast, so he's able to then borrow, so to speak, that fast by breaking the fast and then being pareya, the choiv of the fast, on another day. Omar lei, tainis chaloimhu. The tainis that I'm sitting in now is a tainis chaloim. V'omar Rav bar Mechasi, Omar Rav Chama bar Guri, Omar Rav, yafet tainis lachaloim ke'esh lina ores. That greater is a fast for a chalom to nullify the bad dream, just like a fire that consumes these flax that are easily burnt. V'omar Rav Chizda, uboy bayoim, so long as it's that very day. V'omar Rav Yosef, afilu b'Shabbos. Says the Gemara, v'ayter v'im tchilu ein mafsikin. The Mishnah tells us that if they began sitting down in the barber's chair to get a haircut, if they began a su'uda, so it says these things, ein mafsikin, then one cannot be mafsik, does not have to be mafsik for the tfilas mincha. Even though he sat down, even be'isr, samuch lemincha, within a half an hour before mincha, still, he doesn't have to then stop the su'uda, for example, that he's in the middle of. The Mishnah goes on to say, mafsikin, however, the kriya shema, v'tfila ein mafsikin. Ask the Gemara right away, hotana le reisha ein mafsikin. It already taught before that we're not mafsik for tefillah, so why does it repeat it here in the Seifa? Says the Gemara, Seifa ason ledivrei Torah. The Seifa is referring to divrei Torah. When a person is oisek in Torah, so he has to stop for Kriya Shema, but he doesn't have to stop for Tefillah. The Tanya, like it says in the Brisa, Chaverim shahayu oiskim ba Torah tamidei chachomim, who were involved, engaged in the study of Torah, mafsikin the Kriya Shema ve'im mafsikin le Tefillah. They have to be mafsik their Torah learning to say Kriya Shema, because Kriya Shema is deraisa with specific times of v'shoch becha uvkumecha, like we learn in Masechet Brachos, that has to be done certain times, especially in the evening and certain times in the morning. Whereas tefillah, even those who hold that tefillah is deraisa, but the timing is only derabanan, while there are many who hold that it's only derabanan altogether. Rabbi Yochanan lo shanu ella kegoin Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai v'chaveirov shetarosan umnuson. Says Rabbi Yochanan, this applies only to those Talmidei Chachamim of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and his Chaverim, who made their Torah their occupation. Every waking moment they were learning and didn't go to do any other occupation. Aval kigoin anu, Rabbi Yochanan is about us who do involve ourselves in other types of occupation. Mafsikin lekriya shema uletfila. We have to not only mafsik for kriya shema, but even for tefillah. Vahatanya asked the Gemara, but the Brisa says, Keshem shen mafsikin l'tfilo, kach ein mafsikin l'kriya shema. The same way that we are not mafsik for tefillah, we're not mafsik for kriya shema. So here we have even more than we said before. In the regards to the Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai v'chaveirov, we said they have to be mafsik for kriya shema, but not for tefillah. And here we have a statement that they're not mafsik, not for tefillah and not for even kriya shema. Says the Gemara, kitani hahi bi'ibor shana. That brisa that we just quoted is referring to those chachamim who were engaged in the ibor shana, in making a leap year. The Omar Rav Ada bar Avo v'chein tonu sabi dahagronya. Omar Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok kishahayinu oiskim bi'ibor shana biyavne, when we were involved in making the ibor shana, the leap year in Yavne, lo hayinu mafsikin lo lekriya shema v'lo letefillah. We wouldn't interrupt ourselves, not for the kriya shema and not for tefillah.